Welcome to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your slightly sunburned and face-peeling host. Welcome to the podcast. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. Every pay-per-view, I will have a guest on the show. And last pay-per-view at UFC 287, we had elite coach and Hall of Famer coach Ray Longo here talking all things MMA, broke down some fights with him as well too. So I already have a guest set up for UFC 288 coming in May, have a guest coming on the show, and boy, I am excited. I do want to tell you guys, but I'll let that get a little bit closer to the event and get all into that. But before we jump into two plays that we're going to talk about here for UFC Kansas City on ESPN, I got to actually give my final thoughts on UFC 287. And I'm not going to give this long rant. I'm sure sometimes on the show I may. But the first thing is, before the rant and going on to talking about that fight in the main event between Adesanya and Pereira, I just want to talk about real quickly is, if you have never been to a UFC pay-per-view title fight event, you are absolutely missing out. There was really nothing like it. I've been to UFC 200 in Vegas. I've been to big events at MSG. Obviously, the one we just went to, UFC 287 in Miami. There is just nothing like having those events, being at them, the energy. It beats every sport. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think it does beat every sport. Watching it live, it's entertaining. It's great going to a different area, that somewhere I don't live, and being a part of that, just the just excitement and electricity in that area for that weekend up and leading up to the event. So it was really amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. Besides for Alex Pereira losing. Now, listen. I do have a lot to say about this fight. I'm going to try to concise it in about 1 minute. But this was a spot here where I did like Alex Pereira a lot in this spot. I thought that the leg kicks were going to be there in that first episode, and me and Ray Longo talked about it last show. I thought the leg kicks would be there. I thought a lot of those things that make him really a special fighter, checking the leg kicks, firing the leg kicks, the big power that he has in that left hand. He's able to kind of utilize that when he needs to, calling upon that. And that first round, man, I was excited as could be. I was on my feet. I was feeling good. He was doing the things. He felt very calm, very relaxed. Pereira in the pocket, checking those leg kicks hurt Adesanya's legs a few times. You saw him kind of switching stances very quickly. I thought this was set up beautiful. I thought it was just beautiful setup for me going out there and picking this fight correctly. And going into that, I thought that, going into that big exchange, that final exchange, I jumped up on my feet. I thought that Pereira landed the big knee. I thought he was landing some nice shots. It was another spot where Adesanya was shelling up against the fence, and he lands the big shot. And my thought on that really is that, Adesanya, there's no lucky punch, I guess, quote unquote, lucky punch that you could really say for fighters in the UFC. They're high level. They come off, they go off of split second decisions. So I can't say it's a lucky punch, but I was really trending in the right direction for Pereira throwing those big shots, and definitely the right hand landed. Didn't really think that first one was going to do much. He follows up with the big right hand, finishes the fight. But, credit to Adesanya going out there, having the ability to go out and get the victory and still grind it out when he was in a very, very bad spot. And then lastly, to talk about that was the how Adesanya kind of pointed at the kid, Pereira's son. And listen, Pereira's son did do something when he was like 6 years old. Obviously, it's bothered Adesanya throughout these years because probably so many people, so many times have retweeted it, sent it to him. He's seen it a million times. So for him, I'm sure he doesn't want to have to even deal with any of that. But he did see him. He did a little something, just fell down, not a big deal. I think people are kind of blowing that out of proportion a little bit there too. I wouldn't do that per se. I've got a son. I don't think I would really want to do that, but he did point. He did do that. I don't think it's anything else worth really talking about. So with that being said, we are going to absolutely jump into the main event breakdown here. Now, we got Max Holloway minus 190 against Arnold Allen plus 150. Now, when you're breaking this fight down, I think one of the first things here that you got to look at is the fact that this is going to be 5 rounds. And I think that is really important for somebody like Max Holloway, who is absolutely built. His style is built for a 5-round fight. And the way that he really manipulates through that is just volume, pressure, cardio, and just weaponizing all of those things makes it very difficult for opponents to kind of keep up with the pace. Now, high-level guys can absolutely do that, but he's been able to do that and utilize that throughout his time when he's going out there and getting these victories. Now, if you look at his last few fights, really his last 7 fights, all of them went to a decision. And now, with that being said, he is fighting the top level guys. All of them have gone to a decision, and he just has utilized to really kind of point fight from a distance. Having good footwork, working from the outside, and the cardio always is going to be there. Where you look at it on the other side here, Arnold Allen, he has not had to, he's not had to go 5 rounds. Now, that could be a little bit concerning when you're looking at this because, yes, he's got some finishes early, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But we haven't seen him, really, after that first into that second round, I would say probably midway through that second round, he starts to tick off. He starts to tick down a little bit. Allen's output and movement and power and all these things start to kind of fall down a little bit. And I think that the range and some of these things that Max Holloway has are going to help him tremendously in this spot where, a guy like Allen who's going to be looking to push forward, I think early he's going to really push forward and try to put it on Holland. He doesn't want to stand and strike with Holland for 5 rounds at a distance and thinking he's going to go out there and win this fight. So I think that this is a spot where Holland can work from distance, utilize his striking, utilize his pace. And if he can kind of, first round, I think could be a little bit scary because Allen has looked to push the pace and fire the big shots. But if Holloway gets through that first round, it really favors him into that third, into that fourth. It really favors him. He has been there. The experience is there. And that kind of goes into my next point of competition level. I mean, I can't even overstate how different both of these guys have when it comes to competition level and what they have faced. And if you look at Max Holloway here, I mean, the guy is an absolute legend when you're looking at who he's faced, the championship run that he's had. Max has fought Volkanovski 3 times, Dustin Poirier twice, Jose Aldo twice, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez. I mean, the list goes on of guys that he has faced. He is 31 years old. When you face guys of this level, of this talent, and having a title reign that Max Holloway has had, most of the time, they're older. They're not 31 years old, and Max is still, the guy has been around, but 31 is nothing in this sport. He has a long time to go. He can move up in weight if he wanted to, and those are certain things I think he can get to. But if you're looking really on the other side of competition level, on the side of Arnold Allen, I mean, the guy's on 11-fight winning streak. He has looked good in certain spots. Again, some recent nice, wins there. But if you look at the last 4 and you really kind of peel back a little bit here, you look at it, I mean, 4 fights ago, he beat Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is an absolute journeyman fighter, sloppy fighter. He does have some jiu-jitsu, but a sloppy fighter, brawler, will just move forward and kind of block punches with his face. Then the next victory he had was against Sadiq Youssef. Sadiq Youssef is a power puncher, big power puncher guy, but he is as one-dimensional maybe as it gets. He just has complete power, throws everything with 100%, does not really set up his shots, does not really work on the outside. And those are things where Allen will be the more technical striker between him as well too. So that also, again, it was a 29-28 victory for Allen, but Sadiq had some success, and I don't really rate Sadiq very high besides for just his punching power. And then after that, he beat Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker, big name, sounds great, all those great things. But if you really look at it, Dan Hooker had a terrible weight cut. He looked absolutely atrocious at the weigh-ins, and then even in the fight, he looked just a shell of himself completely. And Allen knew. Allen went out, he pressed really quickly, landed some big shots, dropped him. It was night-night. It was a very, very quick fight and an easy win for Allen. And then you even look at his most recent one against Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar, I rate him pretty high, great boxing, durable guy. And in the first round, I got to give it credit. Allen looked good. Allen was out there. He was landing some nice shots, doing what he needed to do, outlanding him, even outboxing Kattar, which definitely is impressive. But going at the end of the first round, Calvin does a jumping knee, lands weird, blows out his knee. End of story. Fight over. Going into the second round, it took, I think, a few seconds before he couldn't even stand anymore. Kattar loses, and Arnold Allen gets the victory. Now, those are four wins that are not really that great, and that got him to fight possibly the greatest featherweight behind Volkanovski of all time. And stylistically, it doesn't really add up. And when you're looking at how really Max can get this victory, I just think being technically sound is going to absolutely be his path to victory, and really mixing in some of the things that he does that are really great. He's going to have better combinations. He's going to have the better footwork, the better range, the better distance management. He's going to have all of those things. And most importantly is going to be the cardio and the high volume output of Max Holloway, which is, he doesn't have that punching power, but he can melt guys through a 5-round fight and just wither them away and win on the scorecards. He mixes up the targets of the body very well compared to Allen. I like that he works the legs, the body, the head. He mixes it up very easily within these combinations, firing at different targets, quicker hand speed. I think that's going to help Max as well, too, when they're in the pocket. Allen looking for the big shots, and Max with these very, very quick flash out combinations that can just pitter patter shots, and he moves out of harm's way very, very quickly. I think that's how it's going to be happening too. And overall, I think this is just a bad stylistic matchup for Arnold Allen. Listen, he could land a shot and hurt him. Of course, same thing with the Pereira fight. Listen, Izzy could land a big shot and hurt him, but I think stylistically in this spot, I think, unless Holland has just fallen off a cliff completely, not training, I don't put him in that spot. I think this is a great spot for him here to go out, get this victory here. I think he can expose the biggest weakness of Arnold Allen, which is his cardio. I think he could kind of that first round kind of see what's kind of going on and pitter patter some shots. But once it gets into that second round, I think absolutely Holland is going to push the pace, push the volume, and really, really get things going and force Allen into a comfortable position. Because really, honestly, the only way I see Allen winning this fight is by a finish. And if you look at it, Holland is, Max is not a guy you can finish easily. He's durable because also he is very risk adverse, and he can take the shots, but he also has that footwork and working his angles. And Max, out of his career has been finished one time, which was Dustin Poirier back in 2012. So if you're looking at that here, I don't think Allen is the kind of guy that's going to be able to do those same kind of things. And if you look at it, really, can Allen really win 3 of 5 rounds without a finish? I doubt it. So I like Max Holloway here. I think he goes out there, gets the job done. I did bet Max Holloway minus 160 even before I went away to Miami for UFC 287. I actually did place a wager on Max Holloway at minus 160. It has moved up to minus 190 now at some books now. So if that's a little bit too much for you there in this spot, I still like it because I think this is a spot where I think Holland should be minus 250 in this spot, to be honest with you. So I still like the price, minus 190. Max Holloway, I still think is worth the price. But if you want to look at a prop and into the prop market, I do like Max Holloway, and sticking with the trend of him with, fighting to a decision, to the points, is Max Holloway via points is plus 180. I think is a nice sprinkle, another nice spot that you can find some value in the main event. So I do like Max Holloway to go out there and get the victory. Now, the next one we're going to quickly talk about here is going to be Ian Kutilaba versus Tanner Bozer. You've got Kutilaba here. He's minus 125. On the comeback here, Bozer plus 150. Now, I'm not going to dive into this one too much. Like I said, I like to try to kind of give as much information on that first one and kind of pump out this second free play here. So I think the first thing here is when you're looking at it is Bozer has moved down from heavyweight. And I got to say, I am never a fan. And it's one of the things that I think I look at a lot when you're looking at guys moving weight classes, moving, for certain reasons. And is it to become a double champion, or is it because you've lost 3 in a row and you're really hoping that this change in the division will, help, clear your soul of all the bad things, and you're going to find opportunities to get victories. And that's really kind of, what Tanner Bozer is kind of going through. He was 1-3 in the division in his last 4, has not looked good, had one victory in that spot, but he has shown some really terrible, ground ability. And that's really where I think the clear vulnerability is in this fight on Saturday night against Ian Kutilaba. And you got Kutilaba, he is a wrestler. And that, to me, is going to be the path. And if Bozer, who against guys in the heavyweight division who aren't that good, who really don't have the strength, yes, Bozer is a little bit smaller for the heavyweight division, which is why he moved to light heavyweight. But, Kutilaba has this strength, has this ability to grab hold of his opponents, drag them down. And that's where I start to think that this really could go his way in this spot, because it's a clear vulnerability. Absolutely. And the opportunity to find these takedowns has been something that Kutilaba has looked for. Now, he is the kind of guy that's going to go out there. He's going to redline it, his gas tank early, quickly. And he's done that. And he has really, some spots, early has found success, but he is not really finding success by doing some of that. And I think this is a make or break spot for Kutilaba. He needs to go out there and he needs to get a victory. And now he needs to stick to the path of least resistance, which is going to be the takedowns. And if you're looking at it, over his last 5 fights, 23 takedowns. He is pushing for those takedowns now in certain spots there. Out of 2 of those fights, of the 5, were first round finishes. So it wasn't even like this lengthy. Some of these were lengthy fights, so he is going for it when he can go for it. And when he sees those opportunities, he has vicious ground and pound when he can get on top. And I think that's where Bozer is going to have a ton of issues, where Kutilaba, I think early that first round, at a high clip, I would say Kutilaba wins first rounds at a pretty high clip. And, I'm not saying that the finish would be there, but I think he has the ability to really just go in, get the takedown, and go and look for that finish. But Bozer's side, listen, the guy's got boxing, he's got some good footwork, he's light on his feet. There are some of those things, but I think that when they get in the clinch, that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be issues, absolutely, I think, for Bozer, because I think the strength and I think the ability of Kutilaba taking him down is absolutely going to be there. And I think that, listen, the cardio issue is a glaring issue when you're taking Kutilaba. You may be having a little bit of a sweat out here if you're taking Kutilaba here, because, again, sometimes he does a lot of stupid shit out there, but you have to actually go in there and look at the situation and look at the stylistic matchups. And if Kutilaba fights smart, I know that's saying a lot, but if he fights smart, I don't think Bozer has a shot here. I think it's a bad spot for him. Bozer really needs to find that late finish. If not, I think there's a lot of takedowns that happen. I don't think that he has the opportunity to kind of create space for 3 rounds overall. But if you're looking at it even too, kind of what else could really happen? Yeah, I think this could be an under kind of situation. One of these guys may land a big shot or find an opportunity to get that finish. But I think this is a spot where Kutilaba, first round, can really control the action and maybe seek that finish. If not, I think he could win one of the next 2 rounds in that second or third. And yes, he doesn't have the cardio, but I do think that even if the cardio's down and Bozer's ability to stay upright isn't very good, I think Kutilaba can muscle his way down and get some takedowns and get this to a decision. So I know that decision sounds kind of crazy, but I do like Ian Kutilaba to get the job done. Minus 125, I think, is a good number. I think he has the ability to go out there, get the finish, or win over 3 rounds. So there you have it for my free plays for UFC Kansas City. I'm excited about it. If you want to become a client, check me out at Wagertalk.com. Kyle Anthony got plays up there right now. Excited about it. And episode 2 of the MMA Happy Hour in the books. We will see you next week, and let's cash.